with Secretary Rollins on the SNAP program and to get sodas and candy off of the food stamp program. 10% of food stamps go to SNAP. And I want to thank you for your courage. You are a business-friendly president, probably the most business-friendly in our history, but you're also willing to stand up to very, very powerful businesses, and you've shown that again and again. Secretary Rollins had the soda industry come and knock on her door very much, very loudly, and they said to her, well, the SNAP program is not supposed to be about nutrition. She pointed out to them that there is no nutrition in a soda. And they said, well, it's not supposed to be about nutrition. And she said to them, the name of the program is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So it is about nutrition. And we shouldn't, we have 38% of our kids are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and we are paying at both ends. We're paying for the food-like substances that make them diabetic, and then we're being bankrupt. We're spending $1 trillion a year on metabolic dysfunction. It's existential and it's not sustainable. I visited Arizona, West Virginia, Utah, and Indiana in the last 2 weeks, who have all applied for SNAP waivers. We're encouraging, thanks to Brooke Rollins' leadership, all of the states to apply for those waivers. I also visited Utah, which is the first state to ban supplemental fluoride. Florida yesterday passed a bill to ban supplemental fluoride. I'm confident Governor DeSantis is going to sign that. We are working, Lee Zeldin and I are working together to change the federal fluoride regulations, to change the recommendations, and we're looking at the science now. I want to point out that in August, the National Toxicity Program, which was an arm of the NIH, did a meta-review of all the science on fluoride and found that there's a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure and lowered IQ in children. So the more you get, the stupider you are. And we need smart kids in this country, and we need healthy kids, and thank you for your leadership. We're going to get there. We're reviewing the GRAS standards now we're revamping them to get 10,000 ingredients that are in our foods. The Europeans only have 400 ingredients. We have 10,000. There are chemicals we know nothing about, and we are going to stop that process, and then we're going to go back and look at these chemicals and make the companies either get rid of them or to label them. We've launched Operation Stork Speed, and we're going full speed ahead to make sure that we have good, high-quality milk for children. We have launched the autism study at your direction. By September, we'll have some of the first answers. Within 6 months of that, we will have definitive answers, not only for autism, but for the etiology of a whole range of autoimmune diseases that have become epidemic in our children. We have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, the 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration. And we have ended funding for gender mutilation, surgeries, and other kind of gender dysphoria practices. And thanks to Elon, we have saved $67 billion at our agency without compromising any of our critical programs. Mr. President, I want to thank you for your vision, for your leadership, for giving me the 100 busiest days of my life, and most exciting and most rewarding. And there's, over the next 100 days, we're going to do much, much more.
That's great. Thank you very much, Bobby. Very good, very important. Thank you. Doug, please.
Well, President Trump, on your first day in office, you wisely declared a national energy emergency. And this was essential because it was the signal that we're going to go 180 degrees from the disastrous and dangerous Biden policies that were based on a climate ideology that was the root cause of the inflation in this country. It was the root cause of wars abroad. It was the root cause of our manufacturing disappearing from our country. We can't have energy security. Without energy security, we can't have national security, and you understood that. But now with everything that's flowed from that, dozens of other EOs that you've done, America is back in the energy business. As Chris said, there's been a signal that's sent around the world. Capital is flowing, coming back in. The smart money is coming to this country. And now you've given us a chance to win the AI arms race against China. We know we're up against a formidable competitor. China opened up 94 gigawatts of coal in the last year. That's more than all of California and all of New York combined in the last year. We've had presidents in the past, the Biden administration, that were running away again under this climate ideology. You've embraced baseload power in this country. I'll never forget standing in the East Room with you, surrounded by the coal miners around this country, where you said, hey, big, beautiful coal. As we work to try to identify the balance sheet of America, our earliest estimate is that the coal resources in America, just on public lands, could be worth $8 trillion with a T. That was all going to be taken off our balance sheet if we weren't going to touch it. But now we're back in the business. I was 1,800 feet underground in a coal mine in Alabama a couple weeks ago. They do metallurgical coal. Without metallurgical coal, we can't produce steel. This is a plant. This is a plant that would have been in a mining operation that would have been shut down under the Biden administration. What we're doing here, back in the business, we're doing leasing. We're leasing for oil and gas. We're leasing for timber with Brooke Rollins. We're leasing for grazing. We're leasing for critical minerals, which is key. And when we lease the public lands appropriately and by the law to do that, we're bringing in revenue. We're bringing in jobs. We're helping strengthen America. And so we're treating our natural resources like the American balance sheet they are. And America's resources, the 700 million acres of surface that's public, the 700 million of subsurface, the 2.5 billion offshore, all contain what we need to have self-sufficient supply chains. And so in this, we're focused deeply on critical minerals. The Biden administration put us in a real predicament right now. The whole trade team, the whole cabinet, Susie's jumping in, leadership across everybody in the National Energy Dominance Council. But of the top 20 critical and rare earth minerals that we need for defense, that we need for industry, China's controlling 85% of the refining for that. So we are running at warp speed 7 days a week to try to put ourselves back in business in that way. So, and I want to just close out by saying a couple other things. One is the border. Few people realize that 41% of the southern border is in Department of Interior. And then we've got a few more percent that come with Brooke and with the Forest Service. But that's been a risk area. Part of the reason everyone was pouring into our country, Biden wasn't enforcing the border laws. They definitely weren't enforcing it on public lands. And so again, using tying two presidents that had a great propensity for action, Theodore Roosevelt in 1907 created what was called the Roosevelt Reservation, 60-foot strip that go from Texas all the way to the Pacific Ocean, because he was worried in some future state there might be smuggling. I don't think he was anticipating human smuggling and fentanyl trafficking, but that has been largely unused. He gave us the authority to transfer that, and so working with Christie and working with Pete, we've transferred that to the DOD. So transferring land from the other agencies like Interior to the Department of Defense, then as Pete said, they can do the detain and assist with the military. And having been down at the border multiple times in recent week, I can confirm everything Christie said. The enthusiasm, the morale of that group is exactly 100% opposite of when Christie and I were down there as governors. I had Border Patrol people say that they were multi-generational service in that law enforcement that said, my wife and I are telling our children never to go into this thing, to go into Border Patrol. People this time were saying, I got a 17-year-old. As soon as they turn 18-year-old, they're signing up. My wife is thrilled. They're going into law enforcement. They're so proud to be serving with you. Everybody I've met, whether it's in a coal mine or at the border, law enforcement, the one thing they say on those trips is, please thank President Trump from all of us, the change that you're making. And I want to say especially this became very dear when we last week renamed a U.S. Wildlife Refuge in honor of Jocelyn Nungare. Jocelyn Nungary, of course, lost her life tragically to illegal Venezuelan gang members in this country in a horrific way. But her mother, Alexis, was at that ceremony. Her grandmother was there, and Jocelyn's great-grandmother was there. There 3 other generations of that family were there. They all wanted to pass on their thank you to you, and we've secured her name forever as a sanctuary. And really is saying that every child, every 12-year-old, every child in America should be safe in their own communities. And you've dedicated a beautiful piece on the coast in honor of her. So, President Trump, in your first term, when I had a chance to work with you as governor, you were courageous. The thing that's empowering this amazing group of people around this table, and you've probably assembled the greatest cabinet ever, is that this time you're not just courageous, you're actually fearless. And it's your fearlessness to take on the issues that other presidents would not touch, whether it's the work that we're doing with successfully streamlining and right-sizing government, or whether it's taking on the issues at the border, or whether it's embracing the power we need to win the arms race. You're fearlessly doing that, and that creates it just all of us can sprint because you're running ahead. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Doug, and you are doing a great job. And with Chris, that's a pretty much unbeatable combination, I have to tell you. So thank you both very much. Thank you, Doug. It's great. Marco?
Well, it's not easy to go last after all these reports that have come here. First of all, Mr. So I better be good, and I'll be short as well. A couple things, Mr. President. I think you deserve a lot of credit for 2 things. The first is assembling this great team of people. Some of whom I've known for a long time, others who I've gotten to know during this period of time, but putting together a team, not just of talented individuals, but that work well together, is something never going to be reported on in the media or fully seen, but it happens every single day. For the most part, I interact with almost everyone around this table at some level, and because of Secretary Kennedy, I'm afraid to eat anything. So in front of him, yeah. He said Tootsie Rolls are okay in moderation. So. But it's a great team. And here's the second, and I tell this to people all the time. This is incredibly rewarding service, and you hear it in everyone's voices. Traditionally, in the past, and it's one of the problems we got in as a country, is presidents would say, okay, let's go do something, and then they would have to do a study, and then a study on the study, and then a long internal deliberative process, and by the time you got to it, it was too late, or somebody had forgotten it. In this administration, it's moving. You know the direction because you know why you were elected. The American people elected you very clearly, and basically it's measured, I used to say by days and weeks, now it's measured by hours and minutes, but action is happening. And that's what people want to see. And I'm going to talk about foreign policy in particular because I'm not sure this is fully appreciated. This president inherited 30 years of foreign policy that was built around what was good for the world. In essence, the decisions we made as a government in trade and foreign policy was basically, is it good for the world? Is it good for the global community? And under President Trump, we're making a foreign policy now was it good for America? I was appointed by you and confirmed by the Senate to be the head of the United States Department of State. Not the World Department of State, not the Global Department of State, the United States Department of State. And what that means is our foreign policy is guided by 3 things. Does it make America stronger? Does it make America safer? And does it make America richer? If something doesn't do one of those 3 things, and hopefully all 3 of those things, we're not doing it. Now, we went out and hired a consulting firm to help us organize ourselves. Luckily, they were free. They're called the Department of Government Efficiency. And they helped us do a couple things. Number 1 is our foreign aid. We were funding some crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. You tell me, how does a puppet show in some country around the world make us stronger, safer, and more prosperous? So we got rid of puppet shows and a bunch of other things. I'm sure there were very good puppet shows. And I'm sure that a bunch of charities in the world can go pay for it, but the American taxpayer should not. We've also, by the way, Mr. President, under your direction, reorganized the Department of State. We had offices within offices within offices that didn't even know they existed themselves, not to mention the rest of it. And so we've begun to reorganize that as a way to be able to empower our embassies and our ambassadors and our regional bureaus to do what many of them signed up to do. And we have a great team of ambassadors you've appointed. They're coming online every single day. Very talented people that are involved. Something else we got out of the business of, well, it wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans. And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We have these dossiers. We are going to be turning those over to these individuals.
We can follow up with the media.
Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. But just think about the Department of State of the United States had set up an office to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens to identify them as vectors of disinformation, when we know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency. And so that's what we're going to be in the business of doing. We're not going to have an office that does that. Beyond that, Mr. President, and this I'll move quickly because this has been a team effort, we have gone to countries all over the world and said, hey, you want good relations with the United States, you need to take back your people that are here illegally. And we've had historic cooperation. Beyond that, and I say this unapologetically, we are actively searching for other countries to take people from third countries. So we are actively, not just El Salvador, we are working with other countries to say, we want to send you some of the most despicable human beings to your countries. Will you do that as a favor to us? And the further away from America, the better, so they can't come back across the border. I'm not apologetic about it. We are doing that. The president was elected to keep America safe and to get rid of a bunch of perverts and pedophiles and child rapists out of our country. Here's something else we've done. We stopped giving student visas to people who are coming here to burn down our universities and take over libraries and harass people. Why are we giving student visas to people who are coming here to create disruption? And we've taken away the student visas of people that are come here to do that. It's simple. If you're coming to America to start riots, we're not going to give you, we're going to take away your student visa. And by the way, every country in the world that I've traveled, 14 countries in 14 weeks, you know what they all say to me? Yes, that's what we would do too. So the only people who seem to disagree with us are a handful of federal judges and a bunch of crazy people who get paid to write and report. So anyway, we're getting rid of that. The last, but now here's some good news. You know, we're going to have the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Club Cup, and then we're going to have the Olympics. So we have to have a Consular Affairs Bureau. We have very good, talented people there, but we are going to infuse technology, again, working with our consultants, to be able to, millions of people are coming into this country for this. And, but we've done it to improve customer service. For some of us who served in Congress recognize that about a year and a half ago, we had a meltdown under Biden. You couldn't get a passport. You have people calling, I have a cruise on Friday, my passport expires. In the month of March, we processed 2.78 million Americans, their passports. That is the historic, never in any, it's the largest single month processing of passports ever, and we think it's a good way to build the momentum to be able to do the visas. Two last points I want to make. We have a great team that you've built. I want to especially acknowledge Steve Woodcock. This is a person that doesn't have to be doing what he's doing. He has a very good life in Miami, my hometown as well. He has worked incredibly hard, has done it without any agenda, and we need to acknowledge him. I want to acknowledge Mr. Boulos as well, who did something really great last week. They told us this war between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is intractable. It can never happen. It will never happen. I sent Mr. Boulos, your envoy. A week later, I look on my schedule, the signing of a declaration of peace between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. We signed it at the State Department last week. We hope it will lead now to a lasting, permanent peace that we hope to invite them back to Washington to sign. So two great, and we have a lot of good people working on our teams as well, but these are two great people. Mike Waltz alluded to this earlier, and this is the last point. In the first 100 days of the 47th presidency, 47 wrongfully detained Americans have been returned to the United States, thanks to your leadership and the diplomacy that was exercised to make that happen. 47 for the 47th president in the first 100 days, and that's all credit to you, Mr. President. Thank you for the honor to be able to serve alongside you, for you, and alongside all these excellent people.
Well, thank you very much, Marco. Really great job. So, you know, I've been involved in a lot of groups of people over the years, good groups, bad groups, all types of groups. But I have been involved in some incredible groups, but I've never been more proud and impressed, frankly. Impressed is maybe even more important, but I've never been more proud or impressed than I am with this group. This is an amazing group of people, and I hope some of those television cameras were blazing and it was on so people could watch this because, frankly, you know, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, this is an impressive group of people. I sat around being somewhat competitive. I said, well, let's see, who did the best job, who did the worst job? And I determined that everybody is like the same and there was no worst job. Everybody was outstanding. Everybody did a job. You couldn't pick a winner. The only thing you can say is nobody did a bad job or even a fair job. you're outstanding, and so I want to just congratulate you all. This is really something, and you know we have a job to do. We've done a lot of work in this 100 days. We've established things that are going to start taking place in the next 100 days. I want to see what it's going to be like. I think we're going to have to do this in 100 days, Susie, and we're going to see some very big results from the things that we've done. But I just want to thank everybody. This is really very impressive, and I hope the people at home got to see some of it. Nobody's ever done public cabinet meetings. They were quiet for a reason, because they weren't impressive, and especially in the last administration, they were not impressive. But I just want to say that we're very proud of you, and I am in particular. Thank you all very much. Great job, and I think we're going to have some tremendous success for our country. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like a time to be asking questions. That was so impressive, that to be taking questions. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be appropriate. I guess we probably have to take a couple, because that was the purpose. But if you'd like to ask some, I think they should be very respectful questions at this point. This was an amazing meeting. And so if you'd like to ask a couple, if you'd like to pinpoint them to some of the secretaries, et cetera,
Yes,
would be fine. Yes.
Secretary Rubio, can I ask you a question? You brought up El Salvador in your remarks. Have you been in touch with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia as a formal request from this administration to me?
Well, I would never tell you that. And you know who else I'll never tell? A judge. Because the conduct of our foreign policy belongs to the President of the United States and the executive branch, not some judge. So we will conduct foreign policy appropriately if we need to. But I'll never discuss it. And no one will ever make us discuss it, because that's how foreign policy works.
Mr. President, yesterday you told ABC News, Mr. President, you told ABC News yesterday that you could get Abrego Garcia back if you wanted to. Do you think President Bukele would turn you down if you made that request?
I really don't know. I know that he's been a great friend of our country. He's gotten a lot less money than this would take from us if we were going to build these jails and do what he's doing. And they run a very professional operation. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. I really leave that to the lawyers, and I take my advice from Pam and everybody that is very much involved. They know the laws, and we follow the laws exactly.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
Transition, sir. You frequently took credit for the stock market highs. You said it was a reflection of how well you were doing in the polls, and then after you were elected, you said the stock market highs were a reflection of how well the transition is going and the American people's confidence in your incoming administration. Now, the stock market's not doing so well, and you're saying that's the Biden stock market, yet you are the president. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm not taking credit or discredit for the stock market. I'm just saying that we inherited a mess, both at the borders. You could look at every single one of the people here, and no matter who it is, they're doing better, and they are far superior to what took place for 4 years before us. When you look at prisoners being allowed to come into our country at will, just at will, people from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers, when you look at that, what they've done to our country, and also having to do with finance, look at what happened with inflation. We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but I would say in the history of our country, it ate away at people. And even though you saw a stock market going up somewhat, because in my case, I had the biggest stock market increase, 88% in the last term, in my last term. But I don't view the stock market as the end all. It's an indicator. But what the stock market really tells you, and when you look at the stock market in this case, is it says how bad a situation we inherited. I took place, this was a quarter that we looked at today, and we took all of us together. We came in on January 20th. So this is Biden, and you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden, because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis. But we're turning it around. It's a big ship to turn around, and we're going to have the greatest country financially in the history of the world, I believe. I think we're going to do things that, and we had to do it. We reset the table. Every single country, with just about, without exception. I'd have to really think hard for who hasn't taken advantage. And I don't even blame those countries. I blame the person that was sitting right here where I am, and for allowing it to happen, where our country was ripped off on trade, hundreds of billions of dollars. And now we're doing better than we've done in a long time. You know, we were losing $4 to $5 to even $6 billion a day on trade with Biden. And now we have it down to a very manageable number, and the tariffs, for the most part, haven't even kicked in yet. So that's the way. Stock markets, to me, are an indication, but the big indication is what's happening, and the people around the table know what's happening.
Is
Yes.
it true
You
the
said
Ukraine
that
minerals deal
during-
is set to be signed in 24 hours or
What,
so?
say it?
Is it true that the Ukraine minerals deal is about to be signed in the next 24 hours or so? There's some reports saying that. And if it's true, has the deal changed at all from the last time we heard about it?
Well, I'll ask Scott to answer the question because he's responsible for it.
Yeah, our side's ready to sign. Ukrainians decided last night to make some last-minute changes. We're sure that they will reconsider that, and we are ready to sign this afternoon if they are.
Can you talk about those last minute changes? What was removed or put in its place?
Nothing's been removed. It's the same agreement that we agreed to on the weekend. No changes on our side.
Just to put that in perspective, though, when I came here, I said, how much money have we given to Ukraine? The real number is about $350 billion. It's unthinkable. And we had no security, we had no nothing. We were just pouring money there, unsecured money, putting it in banks, and anybody could have taken it out. You know, anybody over there, it was their decision. I've never seen anything like it. Europe, on the other hand, which is obviously that whole situation is much more important to Europe because we have an ocean in between. But Europe gave about $100 billion. It's a lot of money. It's a big sacrifice they made also. But they gave much less than we did. And their money is secured, totally secured, by deposits in banks. The deposits are largely Russian deposits. That's what Europe did, but their money is secured. So they gave $100 billion totally secured. We gave money like it's throwing it out the window. And it was done by Biden, and this is Biden's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm trying to get out. And more than the money, they're losing about 5,000 young Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week, mostly. There's some people also being killed in towns where missiles should not have been shot, small cities and towns. But we are trying to save the lives of about 5,000 young, mostly soldiers, that are losing their lives a week. I see satellite photos, probably off one of his satellites, come to think of it, but I see satellite photos every week of fields with arms and heads and legs scattered all over. It's a violent, horrible situation. And more important than the money, I want to save the lives of people from other countries that are dying so stupidly, so needlessly, and they're dying. But I said, what are we doing? How did we get into this war? It would have never happened if I were president. Everybody knows, and it didn't happen for 4 years. Wasn't even thought of. I discussed it with President Putin a lot. Ukraine was the apple of his eye, but there was no way he was going to do anything. Zero chance. And I said, you know, we feel foolish. The Europeans are putting up money. It's totally secure. They get the money back. We're putting up much more money. We have absolutely nothing. And I didn't want to make a complicated deal. I didn't want to make a deal that couldn't be made because Ukraine doesn't have very much money. They're going through a very bad period of time. It's been brutal. But I felt very foolish being in charge. So I said, well, we want something for our efforts beyond what you would think would be acceptable. And we said rare earth. They have very good rare earth. As you know, we're looking for rare earth all the time. Rare earth is called rare for a reason. And they have a lot. And we made a deal where our money is secure, where we can start digging and doing what we have to do. It's also good for them because you'll have an American presence at the site, Chris. And the American presence will, I think, keep a lot of bad actors out of the country, or certainly out of the area where we're doing the digging. So we made a deal, and I assume they're going to honor the deal. I put Scott in charge, and Scott's done it beautifully, but we haven't really seen the fruits of that deal yet. I suspect we will.
Mr. President, sir, you had
progress.
You had set a 90-day deadline during the executive order for Secretary Sykes and known to review whether to recommend to you whether to invoke the Insurrection Act to send troops to the southern border. Is that something you're still considering?
Well, I'm talking to them, and it's not hard and fast, but I'm talking to them, and I will tell you that the border is the most secure it's ever been. We have never had anything like it. And when you said, Christy, before, it's 99.999, and I guess that means one person maybe, or two people. It's actually turned out to be 3 people came across the border versus hundreds of thousands of people under Biden. And we're talking about people coming. Look, people, they have souls, they have hearts. Many of them are good, but we have a country that's under siege. We have a country that really is under, I think it's under attack. In many ways, worse than under attack, because there are no uniforms. You don't know who the attacker is, so you really don't. It's not like you're fighting an army. You're fighting people you don't even know who they are. But 11,888 murderers, many of them murdered far more than one person, are roaming. Now, some of them have already been caught. A lot of them have already been caught and taken out. But we're being impeded by judges from doing our job. And hopefully that situation's going to be solved, because I think nobody wants to have murderers and people from jail, and I mean for serious, serious crime. I remember the Biden people used to say, no, these are aliens that came into our country and they don't commit crime. I said, they don't commit crime, they commit worse crime. They make our criminals. Some of these people that they've allowed in through open border policies, the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You can look at some of these people and you say, this is not going to end well. But the people that they've allowed into our country are making our criminals look like the nicest people on earth. I will tell you, these are serious criminals. These are violent criminals. These are people that would kill you and wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep, and they wake up the next morning and they don't even remember it. This is a rough, tough group of people, and we've got to get them out of our country. And the law says, I believe, I hope, and I think Pam will be very successful in proving it, but we've run into, I would call them rogue judges. Somebody could criticize me for that. These are rogue judges. These are radical left, generally radical left, horrible judges. And we didn't lose all of these people. You know, we've lost a lot of people to death and to rape, all sorts of crimes committed by the people that poured into our country. And they came in totally unimpeded. Just come on in. And you see it every night. You'd see thousands and tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. We have no idea who they are. And to this day, we're looking for people. We have no idea. We hear that we have terrorists in our country that are so bad, they couldn't stay in any other country, but we're getting them out. And the group between Pete and Christy and Tom Homan and everybody working together, the people that you would least suspect are reporting them, getting it, and the public is reporting them. The public is seeing. The public is calling and they're saying, you know, I live in a house and next to me moved in a group of people and they are very violent, and would go and would find out and would say, yeah, you're right, they were really violent, and we have information on most of them. So I just think it's incredible what's taken place. But we right now have a very, very secure border. Right now we have the most secure border in the history of our country, so I don't think we have to worry about your question too much.
Mr. President, as Prime Minister of Canada ran against, not only against the Conservatives, but also against you.
Well, they
Yesterday,
both parties.
Prime, yeah, and yesterday he spoke about American betrayal. Are you interested in rebuilding relations with Canada, and if so, how?
No, well, I think we're going to have a great relationship. He called me up yesterday. He said, "Let's make a deal." You know, he was running for office. They both hated Trump, and it was the one that hated Trump, I think, the least that won. I actually think the conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy.
Why do you think
But no,
so?
I spoke to him yesterday. Couldn't have been nicer, and I congratulated him. You know, it was a very mixed signal because it's almost even, which makes it very complicated for the country. It was a pretty tight race, but he's a very nice gentleman, and he's going to come to the White House very shortly, within the next week or less.
Mr.
President.
When will you speak to President Xi of China? When we
That'll
speak to
happen.
them.
I mean, look, right now, and I told you before, they're having tremendous difficulty because their factories are not doing business. They made $1 trillion with Biden, $1 trillion, even $1.1 trillion with Biden selling us stuff. Much of it we don't need. You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know. And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. But we're not talking about something that we have to go out of our way. They have ships that are loaded up with stuff, much of which, not all of it, but much of which we don't need. And we have to make a fair deal. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, but China, I would say, is the leading one, the leading candidate for the chief ripper offer. There has never been a country that's been ripped off more than the United States of America under some of the dumbest leadership, and it usually starts with the president. And you can go back, and I'm not just talking about Biden. It's been the worst. I mean, the trade deficits and everything else, he's been the worst. But he had no idea what he was doing, and I think somebody ought to look at the auto pen to find out who was really running this country, because it wasn't Biden. Because nobody could agree to what he agreed to.
Sir, what's your message for the girl who doesn't
He
get
put our
the job?
country at risk, at tremendous risk, and fiscal risk, financial risk. So I think we have it very much. I really believe that the next 100 days is going to be even better than this. Look, I read an editorial yesterday from a group that normally wouldn't write a good, that this is the most consequential presidency in history, in the history of our country. This is not a particular group that would write that kind of an editorial, but they see what we're doing and what we had to do. And I believe if this group, not just me, if this group wasn't here, I think our country was going to be in, if it was lucky, just serious trouble, but a lot worse than that. I think our country could have been a total disaster. Bad things were happening with our country, and we've stemmed the tide, we've turned it around, but we're going to really turn it around over the next 3 years, 3.5 years, we're going to turn it around, and then hopefully it'll be in such great shape. That's my goal, to put it in such great condition that it can't be destroyed.
Do you believe
You mentioned this last night in your speech in Macomb, that we're facing an unprecedented situation where there's a lot of abuses of nationwide injunctions, sort of seemingly designed to curtail your power, specifically when it comes to deporting these illegal, violent aliens that came in under the previous administration. Have you spoken to your team about ways to mitigate this and continue to deliver for the American people on
Well,
that
there
aspect?
are ways to mitigate it, and there's some very strong ways. There's one way that's been used by 3 very highly respected presidents, but we hope we don't have to go that route. But there is one way that has been used very successfully by 3 presidents, all highly respected, and hopefully we don't have to go that way. But there are ways of mitigating that. I want to thank you all very much. I thought this was an incredible cabinet meeting. I think there's probably has never been a cabinet meeting like this. You've never seen it on tape, that I can tell you. And I want to just congratulate everybody at the table. But we have a lot of work to do, but we're off to a great start. Thank you very much,
Do
everybody.
you enjoy Mr. President maybe in the White House bag? Second time? How's your life here?
I'm working hard. I like my life. I'm working hard, but I like it because we're doing a lot of good for a lot of people. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Alrighty, guys. That was the follow-up, though, the finishing touch to the Trump cabinet meeting. I just want to say, above all else, you know, I love the transparency of this administration. I mean, taking questions, the floor was open to everybody to speak, giving the American people directly from the horse's mouth what is going on each cabinet level. I don't remember one of these being televised by the previous administration. I genuinely, and this isn't me just digging at Biden because he may or may not, but probably was dead, not literally, but, pretty much dead. Look, just everything's out there with what they're doing. From Administrator Chavez DeReam are going around the rest of the country figuring out how to best help labor from the immense amount of money being saved by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. Obviously, you guys know I'm partial to Lee, a good friend of mine. I owe him pretty much everything. So I do want to say real quick on that Lee Zeldin note, congratulations to Administrator Zeldin for today will be his last day in the Army Reserves for 27 years in the Army Reserves. So I want to congratulate Lee, and I mean that in no disrespect. I mean that as a friend. 27 years serving our country, not only on Long Island, but not only in Congress, not only attempting to fix New York as the governor, but in his role as Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Reserve. So congratulations, Lee Zeldin. What's going on, everybody? Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here at the 1 p.m. hour, 19 minutes to the top of the hour. Guys, do me a favor and head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and all the great work we're doing over here at the Loud Majority. 2 bits of housekeeping notes for my local audience. On Saturday, we are going to be opening our campaign headquarters here in the great town of Smithtown, best town on Long Island, hands down, not even close, led by some of the greatest representatives we have. Ed Wareheim, the boss. Come on down on Saturday. On Sunday, we are going to be at the Lindenhurst Street Fair, the town in which I grew up in, doing a massive voter registration drive and get out the vote effort for a good friend of mine, R.J. Renna, who is running for county legislator. Make sure you guys come on down for that. Shout out to everybody watching in the chat. There's a lot of people watching all over the damn place right now, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Guys, once again, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. There was a bunch of stuff that I wanted to try to get to, but, hey, when the president takes 42 minutes of your show, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Things happen. Things happen. So once again, guys, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. We've got some breaking news at this hour. I only have one confirmed report of it, but pretty exciting stuff out of the state of Kentucky. Out of the, what is Kentucky? The bluegrass state, I think. Could have that wrong. Out of the place where they make baseball bats. Turns out it looks like CNN contributor Scott Jennings will be running for Senate to replace another man who died like a decade ago, Mitch McConnell. So I've long said that I think that would be a great place for Scott Jennings. Super excited about that. Hell, I'll go down to Louisville and give him a hand. I'll go down to Lexington. Lexington's in Kentucky. Yeah. I'll go down there and I will give him a hand on that one. That is for sure. So for any of my friends down in Kentucky, you may have a good senator. And as a matter of fact, Scott Jennings showed up yesterday at the Donald Trump rally in Michigan. Here that was.
And we have a man here that I don't know, but he's defending me all the time on CNN. And he defends me really well, but he can't go too far because if he goes too far, he'll get fired. I said, you're amazing. You can take it right to the edge. And he really does a good job. He's not allowed to go any further. He would be off, if he really went totally crazy, which he'd like to do. But I think he's terrific. Scott Jennings. Where's Scott? Where are you, Scott? Come here, Scott. This guy, really, I've watched him for years. I don't know him, but he likes Trump. Come here, Scott. Oh, CNN, this is the end of Scott. No, who cares? Don't worry, we'll take care of you, Scott. Scott Jennings, really great.
Thank you. Michigan. We were flying in here today, and I said, look at these farms. I got to get a farm in Michigan, because when you own as many libs as I do, you got to put a place to put them all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Scott. And I also want to thank the rest of
Well,
the...
I will say that if you're going to run for Senate, a good place to, come to the world, come to everybody there. You gotta wonder to yourself, why would a CNN contributor be at a rally in Michigan? Unless, of course, he was planning on running for Senate. So I actually got to meet Scott and have a chat with him at inauguration. Really, really nice guy. Scott Jennings is kind of what I imagine, like me in my New York elitism, where we're all very nasty to each other and we're all kind of smart Alex. I just imagine that Scott is what it is to be in the South. So I hope he does run. I hope that's official. Giddy up, let's go. Giddy up, let's go. Also, yesterday at the Trump rally, Donald Trump pulled a fast one on Gretchen Whitmer, which, look, I don't like Gretchen Whitmer, whatever. She may or may not have faked her own kidnapping, but Donald Trump really, politics is about moments, okay? And I'm going to show you all a moment of how you end a presidential primary, okay? Because there are times that this has happened. In 2012, when Governor Christie gave President Obama a hug on the tarmac at Teterboro when he came in following Hurricane Sandy, that ended his run in the Republican primary. When Tulsi Gabbard laid the smackdown on Kamala Harris, that ended her ambitions for a presidential run in 2020. Chris Christie did the same thing to Marco Rubio in 2016. Well, imagine you're a Democrat for a second, and I know that's going to be incredibly difficult because all of you are very smart people, and you know what a woman is, and you're not a freak. But imagine you're a Democrat running for president in 2028. How many times do you think in the presidential primary cycle you're going to run the clip of Gretchen Whitmer embracing Donald Trump? Check this out.
Well, I hadn't planned to speak, but I'm on behalf of all the military men and women who serve our country and serve so honorably on behalf of the state of Michigan. I am really damn happy we're here to celebrate this recapitalization at Selfridge.
This photo will be run in every Democratic primary in 2028. Gretchen Whitmer, we didn't like you, but there goes your presidential run right there. I promise you. Write it down. Write it down. On April 30th, 2025, Kevin Smith showed you what Democratic campaign ads were going to be in 2028. I'm telling you. Because if I were a Democrat and I wanted to label Gretchen Whitmer in one way or another, what I would do is I would run that clip on loop over and over and over again. Politics is about moments, everybody. And Donald Trump is what makes him such a brilliant politician is his ability to pick up on moments. There was a few other moments yesterday that I wanted to make sure that I went over. Donald Trump sat down with ABC News, a man named Terry Moran. Now, you've never heard of this guy. He has been a bloviating jack for quite some time for ABC Nightly News. He sat down with Donald Trump and got, it didn't go well for Terry Moran. The Dilly Meme team actually put together a little clip of the best moments of this, and for all my Big Bang Theory fans out there, you'll enjoy this.
A legal note fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department on any.
Well, you don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Amy, get the Neosporin. Somebody just got burned.
Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay.
Ooh, a second-degree burn.
He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
Do you trust him?
I think.
Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news. So I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Shout out to the guys over at the Daily Meme team for that. Like, that's funny as hell. It's just funny. Terry Moran got absolutely abused, and ABC News aired it. And why did they air it? Why did they air it? Well, because it turns out that right now, many of the cable news outlets are in the middle of lawsuits with President Trump for deceptively editing video content. Now, look, what they're going to say is, well, we got to fit it into a half hour, and we got to get commercial breaks, they are right about that. They are absolutely correct about that. But what they could do, if, like, let's say, I don't know, they sat down with Kamala Harris directly before an election and wanted to be transparent with the public, what they could do is just release the full interview on YouTube. Wouldn't be hard to do. They could do that. But they won't. Because for a long time, many of these news outlets, many of these networks, all of these networks, have just been the propaganda wing for the Democratic Party. As the famed broadcaster Walter Cronkite once said, you really can't be in the business of news unless you're a liberal. I didn't say that. Cronkite said that. You know, the man that everyone trusted. Literally the most famous person in the world back in the 1960s. He said that. I didn't say that. So much so that the journalism school at is it Arizona State or is it NYU? One of the two. I think it's NYU. No, NYU is Pulitzer. I think it's Arizona State. The journalism school at Arizona State is named after Walter Cronkite. Yeah, is that it? I got to make sure I get that right now. Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Arizona State, yes. See, trust your first instinct, everyone. Trust your first instinct. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second. Before we do that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, support the people who support the parallel economy and consider opening an account today with Old Glory Bank. Head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. So, obviously, yesterday, President Trump had a rally in Michigan, and despite what many of these polls say, I love that Democrats are using a lot of these poll numbers to dictate how Donald Trump is done in his first 100 days. I love it. Do you know why? Do you know why Kevin loves it? Because these are the same polls they used that showed Donald Trump running neck and neck with Kamala Harris in 2024, and Democrats got burned by it. They got burned. But they go right back to the well. And now what many of these polling outlets have begun to do is not release the methodology on how they conducted the poll. Why? Because if you run a poll and it shows Donald Trump has a 42% approval rating, and then you release the numbers and you find out that 70% of the people in the poll were registered Democrats, well, that changes the way the poll operates. It turns out you want to see how things are, you go back on the ground, and that's what Peter Doocy did yesterday in Michigan.
Now, Well, why don't we go ask? Does it feel, Sandra, like it's been 100 days since the last Trump rally? Because it has. That was the one on Inauguration Day that they moved inside, and we've got all these people here. We are live right now. We're talking to Sandra Smith and John Roberts. Out of the last 100 days, what is the number one thing that you think President Trump and his team have done?
Secured that border.
Secured the border, a lot of that. What do you think?
Doing tariffs he needs to do, get those things going, and getting the people out that do not belong here that are MS-13.
And with these tariffs, is anybody worried about higher prices in the meantime while they...
We're excited. We want people to be safe.
Excited. How old are you, young man?
I am 18 years old.
Have you ever been to a Trump rally before?
I have. This is my second time.
Second time? Wow. I'm guessing a lot of repeat customers here for Trump rallies.
I'm Canadian, so if you want to know, Canada 51st state works for me.
Wow. President Trump, you hear that if you're watching? We found one. And thank you. We're live right now. What do you guys think is the best thing the Trump administration has done so far in the first 100 days?
Our border.
The border.
Immigration law, baby. Get them out of here. Yep.
And Doge. Doge, huh?
Tariffs.
Are you guys going to miss Elon Musk when he's gone?
Absolutely. Doge will still be here.
Okay, all right. And what do you guys think? First 100 days, what do you think? Number one thing.
Couldn't ask for better. Couldn't ask for better.
All right.
Trump. Love Trump. Congrats.
All right. Thank you.
Selfie?
Yeah, we can take a selfie, sure. Well, as you can hear, yes, we will do that after we are live. So, Sandra, by far, the number one thing that folks...
You know, of all the people, I got to be honest with you, of all the people I'm really happy for, during this, I am happiest for Peter Doocy. Because that guy had to sit through 4 years of just being spoken to like he was nothing by people like Jen Psaki and Karine Jean-Pierre. Of all the people I'm genuinely happy for, it's Peter Doocy. I really am. He's got to be living his dream right now. Some people yesterday who were actually not living their dream, one of them was my friend Jack Posobiec. Jack is the host of Human Events. He works for Turning Point USA. He's on the advisory board of the New York City Young Republicans with me, and he went to a Jamie Raskin rally in Washington, D.C., and subsequently basically got jumped by Jamie Raskin supporters.
The right to organize unions. For redress agreements, we're going to defend the right to assemble. We know with Dr. King that the greatness of America is the right to protest for what is right. Against lawbreakers who take office. And that's where we are today. I'll leave you with my friends with the words of the great Marylander Frederick Douglass.
Jamie, why did you lose the popular vote? Why did you lose every single swing state? Why did you lose? Get off me. Why? Let me talk. Let me talk. It's not fake. Look at this. 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 They're assaulting me, motherfucker. Why'd you leave? Can I get my phone? No. Back up. We'll get your stuff. Back up. We'll get your stuff. USA! Woo!
I want to find out who that guy in the red is who very obviously and very deliberately stomped on Jack's phone and maybe, trip him down a flight of stairs or something. Things happen. Gravity takes over. Sometimes you can't really do much about that. But one thing you guys can definitely do to support this network, as your Rumble rants are always appreciated here, guys. This is user-generated content, and we can't do it without your help. Guys, keep those Rumble rants going for Will Johnson. He's coming up next right here on this network. Also, you guys can head on over to LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA TV related, guys. Check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming monthly donors over at lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. And also, since we got a big crowd here today, and I got about 30 seconds left to talk, guys, check out the Make America Hot Again shirts we've got over at the Loud Majority. Oh yeah, Make America Hot Again. I'm liking that. I don't know who made that shirt, but I bet they're pretty hot. Just saying, we've got it available in every color imaginable for the ladies out there, because we take care of the ladies here on this show. Boom, Make America Hot Again. Pick those up today, guys. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. Use promo code LFA to get 20% off everything on the website. Guys, Will Johnson is here, ready to go. I will catch you guys back live tomorrow. And for all the people out there who are getting ready to put up that meme of Justin Timberlake saying it's gonna be May, just know I hate you. I hate you so much. I don't hate you as much as the people who put up the May the 4th be with you people, but just know both of those are awful. Both of those are awful. I'm just kidding. I love every one of you. Guys, I'll catch you all back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.